Well, thanks everyone for attending. My name is Hrodr-Navar, and this is my class on resources for historical research. First, I'd like to thank Her Excellency for organizing this this great lecture series. I've attended several of them, and I think it's been a great resource while we're all forced to stay at home and not being able to do SCA stuff. So learn a lot of cool stuff. So just in a little bit of background, I'm a chemist by profession. Worked in laboratory research for my entire career until I retired about 5 years ago, and working for a company doing corporate biological research. I had access to a secretary and libraries, and I was just happier in a pig in slop. I could just write out keywords and have literature searches done for me and pick out what I wanted, and bing, bang, boom, and everything appeared on my desk the next morning, and I didn't pay a penny for it. That was great. When I retired, everybody said, "Oh, you're going to miss the people." No, I didn't really miss the people. What I missed was the access to information. And also, since I'm not doing chemical research anymore, I'm doing historical research, trying to figure out how to find good quality information without having to pay a lot for it has been one of my challenges. And so I've put all of this together over the last few years as I've done several research projects. So what I'm going to show you are techniques that I've used. And there are certainly other things. There are certainly things that I have not learned yet or that I have not used extensively. But I can tell you that these tools that I'm going to present to you can get you a long way. So without further ado, I'll get started. All right, a lot of people do just a simple Google keyword search and look at what they've got. Well, sometimes you might get lucky and find something good, but most of the time you get a lot of useless stuff and end up watching cat videos. Oh, look, I found a Wikipedia page, yay! So watch out for Wikipedia. Wikipedia can be very good and it can be very bad. Look at this heading for the Wikipedia page, the free encyclopedia that anyone can edit. Be very afraid. Wikipedia is notorious for including errors. It can also be very good, as I said. Also, if you're writing a paper or documentation for an arts and sciences competition or project, avoid using Wikipedia as a reference. As a rule, arts and sciences judges just hate that. They'll ping you on that anytime. But if it's a good Wikipedia article, it can be a very useful starting point. It can be good at giving you an overview, and also, if it's good, it will be heavily referenced. And oftentimes, those references, the references will be given as links that will actually take you to the exact document that they're referencing. For example, here's a Wikipedia entry for trebuchet. Now you can see there are 69 references, a lot of them, very good scholarly papers. And there's even like Ukrainian protesters build a giant catapult to fight the riot police. Boy, I'd want to read that anyway. That's a link. You click on that and you go to that article. Down here, the first item in the bibliography by Paul Shevenden. He's one of the experts in the field. And here's an article that he wrote for Scientific American. And that is a link. So you click on that link, you go right to the document online. So don't try not to use Wikipedia as a reference, but use it as a lead. Use it as a source to find other references that you can use. All right, one warning: the more specific your question, the harder it will be to find an answer. If your passion is researching Postament, you might have difficulty finding stuff online. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. But the techniques that I'm going to show you will help you find a lot of relevant material, may help you narrow into the one thing that you're looking for, uncover related rabbit holes for later. I always keep a notebook by my side and keep notes on interesting stuff. I wrote an entire Kingdom Arts and Sciences competition research paper on a rabbit hole investigation. So you never know where those rabbit holes can take you. And also, to find experts in the field, you find out the names of the people that are researching areas that you're interested in, and you talk to them. All right, one golden rule of research: do not ignore the references section of a book or paper. That's often the most valuable part. The book or the paper might not give you exactly what you need, but it gives you references and it gives you other sources to go look up. So in a lot of cases, I'll just go to a book. I'll go directly to the references section and start scanning those. So don't ignore the back matter in a book or paper. All right, so let's get into how to find good stuff. All right, my first topic: become a Google power searcher. So don't just do your simple keyword Google searches. There's actually a free online class on Google power searching, and it's written by Google experts, by Google employees, so they know what they speak. Just some examples here. I'm not going to go into detail because you can go look on the class and find it there yourself. For example, if you do a search on words and use a quotation mark, you force it to find sites that include that word. Use a minus sign to eliminate common unwanted hits. If you're searching on the legend of John Barleycorn, but you don't want to look up Steve Winwood and traffic, and you want to actually find the medieval legend, then you just use a minus sign to eliminate Steve Winwood and traffic from your search. On Google, you can actually do a search on websites that have linked to the one that you like. So you find one that's helpful to you. You do a search to find out who has linked to this one. That might take you to some other people that are interested in related things. Google Images. If you haven't tried this, it's really cool. You can actually upload an image. It can be a picture of a manuscript. It can be a picture of some building. It can be a random photograph of a landscape, and Google will search for that image and come back with with where you might find it. If it's if you've seen a picture of a manuscript and you don't know what or where it is, search on that picture and Google Images can help you find it. You can also search foreign language sites. You can go to Google Translate to translate words into whatever language you want to look for. Search on those words, and when it pulls up foreign language web pages, Google Chrome has a feature that will automatically translate an entire web page. So those things can be really useful, particularly if you're researching work being done by other medievalists and reenactors. a lot of great work is being done in Europe, but it's not necessarily being published in English, and it's not necessarily being published in the traditional literature. So you can learn more about all of these things in this class on Google Power Searching. Okay, so let's say I'm interested in medieval science. I am anyway. How do I find some books to get started? So I'll just start with a very general topic. How do I find some books to look this up? All right, so I'm going to introduce Google Books. Google Books, books.google.com. You go to that page and you type in your keywords, medieval science. So you can search on keywords, or if you know a specific author or title, you can go direct to it. A lot of books are available full text for free. The newer the book, the less likely it is that you'll be able to get the full text for free because of copyright issues. But even if the full book even isn't free, oftentimes you can get a look at parts of the book and read through that. If the information that you're looking for is in the visible parts, that's great. Cool, you can use it. If they're not, you have other options to go and find the book to see the parts of it that are invisible. And oftentimes the bibliography and figures are not visible if part of the book is hidden. If the book is available full text for free, then you can see the bibliography and figures and everything. Okay, so we did this Google Books search on the keywords medieval science. So here, let's take a look at this first one, A Source Book in Medieval Science, Volume 1 by Edward Grant. So you click on this and boom, there's your book. Now, okay, so I start reading through this book and I get to page 25. You can see here, you can do a keyword search within the book. So right now it's loaded with the words medieval science because that's what I did my initial keyword search on. But then I can change this and I can put in any words in here, anything that I'm specifically looking for, and search within the book for those pages. Now, in this case, the book is new enough that it doesn't show the entire book for free. Some pages are missing. In this case, it's 26 to 35. An interesting thing here is that every time you reopen this book, it's likely to hide different pages. So if I close this and go back into Google Books and look this book up, I might be able to see pages 26 to 35. I just might not be able to see something else. So you can play with that. Or if you really want to find the book, we can talk about how to find it. I'll get to that later. If you find this book useful, you can add it to your library. That's really neat. So you don't have to go searching for it again. The only problem that I found with their library is I haven't been able to figure out how to remove books from the library. So having a personal library is all well and good until you got 80 or 90 books in it, then it gets to be a little cumbersome. I'd like to be able to delete some, but I haven't figured that out yet. Okay, so reading through it, and here on page 25, oh wow, this is cool. This is a discussion of ancient views of the atom, and it talks about these atoms that flit through the void of the whole universe with restless motion like rays of sun through the windows. Footnote 5. And there's footnote 5. This analogy can be found in Lucretius on the nature of things. Wow, that's cool. I'd like to read more about that. How do I find Lucretius? Well, go back up to the top of Google Books and enter the name of the book, Lucretius, Nature of Things. Hit search and boom, there it is. You click on that And in this case, this is an older book, and the book is free. So you can click on this link. You have immediate free access to the entire book. And there are a lot of titles in Google Books that are available for free. All right, now I'm going to introduce digital libraries, which is another way to get hold of full text books for free. The one I've got here is called Hathi Trust. It's just one of many digital libraries. I've got a list, a few slides later, but this has been one of my favorites. One nice thing about it is that you can do full text searching on the documents. And what this is that as university libraries fill up, they have to make choices about what they can keep on the shelves and what they can't. So older books get shunted down into the basement, and eventually the basement fills up. So what they've started doing is scan them, and many major university libraries dump their scanned books into Hathi Trust. So you'll find books here from Stanford and Harvard and University of Michigan and Pennsylvania State, and et cetera, et cetera. So, like I said, it's mostly older books. These are the books that they don't want to keep on the shelves, but they're available for free, and you can find some really neat stuff. Like I said, I like the fact that you can do keyword searching within all the documents. So in order to see it, so here's a copy of Lucretius on the Nature of Things. You click on full view. Well, and it doesn't come up, but take my word for it. If you click on that, then the book comes up and you have the entire book to read at your leisure. Now, one warning, be careful using old books. New research might make them obsolete, particularly if it's a book that's expounding some theory on why things are. It's quite possible that if the book was published in the 1800s or the early 1900s, that there may be new information that have invalidated their theory. But you can also find a lot of fantastic information. People did a lot of good scholarly work in the 19th and early 20th centuries. So the research information that you find there can be outstanding. Some things that I've made use of off of Hathi Trust, close rolls and patent rolls. These are actual transcripts from royal courts, medieval royal courts. The market price of farm produce. There's an 8-volume set of just a compilation of evidence of English farm products and their price from the time of William the Conqueror up through Elizabeth I. And it's an amazing source of information if that's what you're interested in. So you can find some really neat stuff there. Oops. I made the mistake of clicking on the link. Okay, there.
We can see it. Can you not see it?
Can't.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there it is. Okay. There it is. All right, so as I said, Hathi Trust is just one of many digital libraries. It happens to be currently my favorite. But there are many others, a bunch of these I've used. This right here, this site is a compendium of 250 and more, and 250 as of a couple of years ago, digital libraries. So you go there and find what you're looking for. There are other digital libraries that I've used. Gutenberg, it was probably the first one. And you get a lot of great stuff on that. I won't read out all of these. The last two are of particular interest. This one, NDLTD, 5 million graduate theses and dissertations. And eThesis online service, 500,000 theses and dissertations from the UK. Graduate theses and dissertations are great resources. Don't pass them up. If you can find one that's anywhere close to what you're researching, pull it up and read through it. Even if the specific research that they're talking about is not specifically what you're interested in, the thesis or dissertation will generally start with an overview of the subject. So if it's even remotely related to what you're interested in, you may be able to find some really great information for searching or for finding what you're specifically looking for. Also, it's going to be impeccably referenced. So as I said, remember, one of the most important things of a lot of the documents you're going to look at are the references. So a graduate thesis, almost by definition, is going to be impeccably referenced, because that's one of the things they're being graded on. So it can give you some really great resources. It can also give you leads to experts in the field who's doing the relevant research. Then you can go searching on that person's name. You can try to contact that person. Okay, so remember, way back we looked in Google Books, and we found that source book in medieval science by Edward Grant, but there are only parts of it were visible in Google Books. I think the piece that I want to see is in the part that was invisible. So I want to find the whole book. Where can I find that book? So here I introduce a resource called WorldCat. So it's worldcat.org. And basically this is a resource that will find books and journals in any library in the world, or at least any library that's signed up into WorldCat, but there's an awful lot of them. So this is really a fantastic resource. If you can't find the book or journal that you want for free, if you have access to a library, then look it up here and find out where you can get that book. In WorldCat, it asks you to sign up for a free account. The main advantage to you to signing up for a free account is that when you give it your zip code, WorldCat will list libraries closest to you when you do a search. So for example, here, I'm going to search on the author's name, Grant, and source book in medieval science. So click on search everything, and WorldCat comes up with not only the book that I'm looking for, but related books that may reference the book that I was looking at, or also it'll bring up some documents that are written by the same person. You see, it came up with 983 documents, but the top one here is the book that I wanted. So just click on that. When you click on that, then WorldCat shows you where it's located. Now, when I made this slide, when I first did this this presentation, I was living in Orange County in Southern California, and my zip code was 92780. So when I signed up for it, then I gave it that zip code. And when I do the search for a source book in medieval science, it comes up with libraries that have that book ranked in order of how close they are to me. Well, it turns out
I have a quick question.
Yes.
I had a quick question. Somebody
Yeah.
asked if WorldCat takes Canadian postal codes.
I don't know. Well, okay, I would think that it should, because it will give you results for libraries worldwide. So I think somehow, if you when you sign up for your free membership and you tell it where you're located, I think it should be able to handle that. But frankly, I haven't tried it. But I would think it should work very well for that.
I would think it should. I mean,
Yeah.
I would think it should.
So turns out Santa Ana College was only 4 miles away from where I was living at the time. So great. So if I click on that entry, it takes me right to the listing in the Santa Ana College Library holdings. And so here's a book, a source book in medieval science by Edward Grant. Down here, it's got the call number and it says that it's available. So I know that the book is available, it's on the shelf, and I know its call number. So I can, sometime when I have a free hour, I could zip into the 4 miles away to the Santa Ana College Library and take a look at the book. Now, whether or not you can check it out depends on the library's individual policies. But in most cases, practically all libraries will allow anyone to enter and browse the shelves. So if you know that a book's there, you can walk in and go and pull the book off the shelf and sit down and read it. Of all the libraries that I've looked at, I only found one that said on their website that that the library was closed to anyone but students. But I contacted the librarian by email and said that I wanted to look up this particular book, and could I please come in and read it? And she said, and she wrote back to me and said, okay, yeah, that'd be fine. Just come in on a weekend when the student usage is low. So it was great. So I walked in and was able to sit and enjoy the book sitting in their library. And also, even more valuable, many libraries will allow free access to the library computers. So in a lot of cases, if you can walk into the library, you have access to the computer. That means you have access to all of the ebooks and e-journals that the library owns. And anymore, it's becoming more and more common for books to be either published in both print and ebook, or in a lot of cases, they're just coming out as ebooks now. So again, if you can walk into a library and sit down at one of their computers, you have access to the crown jewels. Now, oftentimes you cannot check out books unless you're a student, staff, or alum. When I was living in California, I could walk into any University of California or Cal State University library and have access to everything there, but I could not check books out. Now, here in University of Oregon, Oregon State, University of Washington, and Washington State allow any state resident to borrow books. You may need to get a free library card. And for the Canadian who had the question earlier, I understand that Canadian libraries generally have requirements for some for like you to buy into a public card. So again, you'll have to check with them and find out what your local library's policies are. But now that I'm living in Oregon, I can go to Oregon State or University of Oregon and walk into the libraries and check out books. Okay, so what if you're looking for a journal article? So up to now, we've been looking at books. So having read that that book by Edward Grant, gee, I'd be interested in seeing some of the other stuff that he does. And I happen to know that Edward Grant is a major, is kind of one of the leading scholars on medieval science and technology. All right, so how do I look up papers? I'm going to introduce Google Scholar. So this is Google Scholar is separate from Google Books. It's let's see, google.scholar.com, I believe it is. Google Scholar goes beyond Google Books. Google Scholar will also look at for papers and you know, journal articles. It'll also list a lot of books. So, for example, here I've done a keyword search, Grant Medieval Science, in the Google Scholar keyword. And the first thing it comes up with is a source book on medieval science, which is the book we were looking at before. Great. But here, this is neat. So here's a bunch of articles. This is just the first page of articles by Edward Grant. Note up here, it turned out 38,000 results. So wow, I may be able to find something interesting there. So as I said, it's this is a great way to find papers. It'll also take you to some books in Google Books. Sometimes the papers might cost you money. It depends on the publisher and how new the paper is. Some publishers will open up everything for free. Sometimes these links will take you to the publisher's website, and the publisher will give you access to the article for $35. Seems to be kind of the common price. But don't despair, there are other ways to get that article as well. Now, one thing to look for, if there's a link on the right side, see this right here, this HTML harvard.edu, that's a link to a copy of the paper. So if I happen to be interested in Aristotelianism and the longevity of the medieval worldview, I could click on that and go right to it. So if I click on that, there's the paper, which happens to be sitting online. And for some reason, someone in NASA uploaded this paper online, and it's sitting there in a NASA database. Okay, fine. But hey, it's available for free. Now, one really neat thing about Google Scholar is that each entry has this row of options down in the bottom here, the star and quotation mark and cited by and related articles. So if you click on those, click on cited by, this is what's called a citation index. And so this shows me that 48 other papers and scholarly works have referenced this article. So if those other 48 works were interested in this article, then they might also have something that you're interested in. Oop, let's see, there. So here, click on the cited by 48. It lists all of the articles that cited it. And here, so it gives you 48 articles. And for each one, it gives you who cited those articles. It gives you related articles, et cetera, et cetera, et etc. All right, this right here, the related articles button shows you, surprise, surprise, related articles. I don't know exactly how they choose related articles, but if you click on that, it now gives you 101 results of other articles that are related to this one that you were searching on. So here you're expanding your the availability of people who are discussing related issues. You're also identifying other authors. Notice that, for example, like this one over here, a new look at medieval cosmology, over on the right, it's got a link. So there's a PDF hiding under there. If you click on that, you get that article. Google Scholar will also actually give you the citation. So anyone who has done a formal research paper in school probably, almost certainly, hated writing the bibliography, because writing bibliographies is literally a pain in the butt. But if you click on the quotation marks, it comes up with the way to cite this article in 5 different styles of citation. So you don't have to figure out where to put the periods and where to put the commas and what gets quotation marks and what gets italics and et cetera, et cetera. You just copy this and paste it into your paper. Just pick one style. MLA, APA, and Chicago are probably the most commonly used. So pick one, and as you're doing your research, just copy these, the applicable citation for each one, and paste that into your paper. There are also other services online that will do this for you, but I found this one's the easiest to use. Okay, so back to here, Google Scholar, we did a search on Grant Medieval Science, and we had been looking at this first hit. What about this one? Late Medieval Thought, Copernicus and the Scientific Evolution. It says JSTOR. What's JSTOR? JSTOR is essentially a digital library for journal articles. Particularly in the social sciences and history. So I never came across this when I was doing research in biology and chemistry, but it really focuses on the social sciences and history, and you can find an awful lot of stuff in here. Normally, you can get 6 papers per month for free, which is quite a lot. Right now, you have free total access during the pandemic. They opened it up to help people who had nothing better to do with their time than to research arcane topics. Or when the full free access is done, you can buy access on a monthly basis. Let's see, what is it? So over here, it says subscribe for $9.99. So $10 a month, you can subscribe to full access. And the nice thing about it being on a monthly basis is that you can subscribe and then cancel it when you're done. So if your project lasts for 3 months, then you spend $30 for complete access. If six papers a month for free is not enough for you.
Somebody just says, FYI, if you live in Toronto, Canada, and have a Toronto public access card, you can get full access to JSTOR.
Oh, cool.
Same for EBSCOhost.
Okay, very neat.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you're a I didn't mention this before, if you happen to be a a faculty or a staff or oftentimes a student of a major university, that university may own access, an access pass to JSTOR and also to a lot of other services. So you may have free access to a lot of these things that that normal humans have to pay for. Let's see, where am I? Okay. All right. So if the article you want is not in JSTOR, as I said, there's a lot of stuff in JSTOR, but not everything. If you want to find the article in a library, just look it up on WorldCat. Remember, we had talked about that before for books. Well, if you look up journals, journals are books. And if you search for that article is in the Journal of the History of Ideas. If you search on the Journal of History of Ideas, WorldCat comes up with where that journal is held. All right, so again, this is from when I was living in Orange County, California. And gee, that's also held at Santa Ana College, but it's also held at the UC Irvine, which is only 6 miles from where I used to live. And that's useful. So if I click on that, again, it takes me right to the UCI catalog. One nice thing about this is for the Santa Ana College, well, Santa Ana College only has one library. It's a little place. UC Irvine has 3 libraries. So here it tells me which library it's in. UCLA has 7 libraries. It's very useful to know which library you want to go to if you're going to a major university. So again, here it tells you which library to go to, it gives you the call number, and it tells you whether the book is available or not. So you can go look the book up, and you're not wasting your time because you know it's there. All right, other stuff. I don't know, I didn't know what to call this, but you've probably seen collections of information online. The SCA, these are mostly collections of links to stuff. The SCA website has a lot of these research and resource links. Kingdom of Kaid, Kingdom of Atlantia, Fordham University, UC San Diego, et cetera, et cetera. And basically, if you can find what you're looking for in here, there's lots of stuff available. And there's even more. There's universities and libraries and all kinds of great stuff. So this is just a short list of things that sources that I've used. Oh, one that I want to point out here, the UK Portable Antiquities Scheme. This is pretty neat. In the UK, there are a lot of people running around the countryside with metal detectors. And they find some really great stuff. And every once in a while, you see these reports of somebody uncovering an Anglo-Saxon hoard or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But they also find a lot of little stuff too, just a lot of small artifacts. Well, if you're interested in some of those small artifacts, this website, finds.org.uk, they list everything that's been found. By law, if you find something, an antiquity, you're legally required to report it. They will take pictures of it and descriptions of it and post it. And I think the way it works is that the government kind of has the first option to buy it from you. And from what I understand, they'll actually pay a reasonable price for it. It's not like they're going to confiscate it or anything. But if they choose not to buy it from you, then you get to keep it. But still, it's been reported, it's been logged, and there are pictures of it online. So for example, for one time I had reason to be interested in medieval tweezers. So you look at medieval tweezers, there are like 30 examples of medieval era tweezers that people have found in the ground in the UK. So it's a really great resource just to look at small or, these objects that have been found, if that's what you're doing research on. And just lots of libraries, illuminated manuscripts, Morgan Library, many, 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 many more. So you're going to have to kind of do your own hunting and searching for those things. There's just so much information out there that it's mind-boggling. And finally, I've mentioned this several times, contact an expert. People love to find someone who's interested in their work. And I can tell you that scholars love to get fan mail. Imagine being an associate professor at a university in England, and your work is English manner, life, and etc. And you've published some books, and you publish these books and papers, and you'll wonder, does anybody really read this stuff? And I've contacted a couple of them, and they are just so overjoyed to know that there's somebody out there that's interested in the work they're doing. It's kind of like talking to a lot of SCA people. The difficult part is not getting them to talk to you. The difficult part is getting them to shut up. So you can get just loads of information from a lot of these people. I have personally tried contacting, now I'm up to about 16 experts in the field, and all but one got back to me and were more than happy to give me all the help I could stand, and just excited to be able to share information with somebody who's interested. So just a couple things. Identify yourself as an amateur historian, that you're interested in their field of study. Do some homework ahead of time, mention their book or work by others in the field, and have a few intelligent questions to ask them. If it's something that wasn't quite clear in the book, or you read this here and you read something else there, and could they please explain? Believe me, the majority of people that I've talked to are more than happy to help. The difficult part is getting in touch with them. Well, if they teach at a university, then you can often get an email address off of the university website. Those email addresses are generally intended for students, but hey, it's out there and you can use it. Some journals require the first author to post contact information on the front page of their journal article. So sometimes you'll get a website, sometimes you'll get an address or a phone number. Another option is academia.edu. You can join it for free. It's a very interesting site. People join it and just post a lot of really interesting work on it. They'll post their own work, they'll post other people's work, anything they find interesting. When you sign up, you tell it what areas of research you're interested in, and when new things come up in that area of interest, it will notify you. So it can be very useful for finding resources, but also it includes the ability to chat directly with other members. And I've been able to contact a few people that I wanted to talk to that way. Makes it very easy just to get in touch with them and ask them some questions and get information. So do not hesitate to contact an expert. I can tell you most of these people would love it. Also, don't forget fellow reenactors. There are people all over the world, maybe in the SCA or maybe not, that are doing excellent research. A lot of it these days is not being formally published. These are, people, they're not real, they're not interested in in publish or perish. They don't need to buck up their resume. They just want to get information out there, so they generally just put it out on a web page. So if you can find a web page that you like, contact the person. Use your new power searching skills to find those websites, including foreign language sites. You can contact laurels. Now, unfortunately, I am not aware, I won't say it doesn't exist, but I'm not aware of any universal resource that lists laurels in all kingdoms. But practically every kingdom that I've looked at does have a page for the Order of the Laurel, and they'll list active laurels and their areas of research. So you can get information from there on how to contact them. If someone's published in Complete Anachronist or Tournaments Illuminated, contact the author if you have further questions. Again, don't put off contacting experts. You can get a lot of great information, and people will generally be very happy to help you. So, in summary, I'm just about done. So, learn how to be a Google Power Searcher. Learn how to use Google Books, Google Scholar, JSTOR, digital libraries, WorldCat, university libraries, online collections of digital links, and contact an expert. So those are my hints at this point in time. And that's my presentation. So if anyone has any particular questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If you check out the Word document that's been posted, it covers pretty much everything and a little bit more, because I've modified it more recently than my presentation. And it actually kind of might allow you to kind of step by step work through some of these tools if you're not familiar with them.
I think you've
All right.
answered everyone's questions. I don't have any questions popping up. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, when you contact an academic, do you self-identify as a Scadian? If you don't, why don't you?
Yes, I do. SCA is worldwide. A lot of people have heard of it. And frankly, a couple of the academic researchers that I've contacted said, hey, yeah, I used to belong to the SCA when I was in college. And yeah, I haven't done that in a while, but yeah, that was pretty cool. The SCA actually has a pretty good reputation as a researching organization. So yeah, don't be afraid to identify yourself. But also, as I said, do some homework and go to them asking some cogent questions. So that you show that you're not more than just an idle observer. Okay, I saw there was another question there.
Oh no, she just said, Baron Alistair said, lots of rabbit holes. Already found a couple new terms. Just looking up, just skimming. Thank you.
Yeah. The rabbit holes are endless.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, looking at the journals and then related journals, and then I was looking at that going, that's just rabbit holes just waiting to happen. That's such a beautiful way to find rabbit holes. But I was going to say, I actually, on that question about identifying as a Scadian or a reenactor, I was fortunate enough to go to a museum and kind of have a back, back of the museum in the archives kind of visit with the textile curator, and she said that she loves reenactors, that she learns so much from reenactors. Every time she talks to a reenactor, she learns something, and she absolutely loves that. So identify as a reenactor. I mean, I think that people are seeing the benefits now of that.
Yeah, and as I said, the SCA does have a good reputation among academics. And one time, some friends and I went to a museum that had a traveling exhibit of Viking and medieval Scandinavian artifacts. And so we're going around and we're looking at things, and we're walking behind the exhibit and looking at how stitches were done and all of this stuff. So the curator came out and said, "Wow, you people, just kind of overhearing your conversation, you people are pretty knowledgeable about this stuff." So we told her, who we were. She said, "Oh, I love the SCA. Oh yeah, you guys are great. Here, why don't you come back here?" And she gave us a tour of the back room where they had all the stuff that didn't go on display. So yeah, make use of that. Definitely identify yourself.
I think that's all the questions. This has been a fantastic class. Really informative. I'm excited to actually research using it. So thank you so much.
All right, sure. All right, everybody. Well, thank you. And go forth and research.